Alrighty, guys, welcome back. It's your boy EQ. And up next, we have DJ AKADEMIKS reacting to UMG, pushing to dismiss the Drake defamation lawsuit. He also pointed out how Kendrick Lamar is not getting sued directly and how this could potentially affect the music industry. And DJ AKADEMIKS is seemingly having a moment of lucidity with him starting to call out Drake's actions, with Drake suing the very machine that he allegedly benefited from the most, whether it's from bots or preferential treatment from the DSPs. He's had the very same allegations follow him throughout his whole career, and it does come off as very hypocritical, and even AKADEMIKS himself can't spin that, especially when you may be only suing because you've lost your leverage. And I don't know if Drake wants to open that can of worms that could come from suing Kendrick Lamar, quite possibly the least hip-hop move of all time, because then you would literally be suing over a rap beef. Even if I don't believe it, him suing UMG, the big bad machine, is more in line with him trying to martyrize himself and make himself seem as some type of messiah for like the smaller artists, which obviously he's not. To me, this lawsuit seems to come from a selfish angle, because if he were the top guy still, if he were still UMG's golden goose and he was still able to throw his weight around, I don't think he would be doing any of this stuff. And since Kendrick Lamar and Whitney could possibly make the same claims if he were to actually go and try to file some suit, I'm pretty sure his attorneys would definitely advise him against that. But after saying that, I honestly can totally see Drake doing the exact opposite that they recommend and forcing them to file some suit, especially with this past year that has seemingly handed him out L after L. But enough dilly-dallying, let's jump right into the video where we have DJ AKADEMIKS reacting to UMG, pushing to dismiss the Drake defamation lawsuit, also pointing out how Kendrick Lamar is not getting sued directly and how this could potentially affect the music industry. And Drake trying to go full-on kamikaze against the music industry could potentially have worse ramifications for him. One should not throw stones if one lives in glass houses, and if Drake was orchestrating these same type of moves in his career, because UMG, when they put out that statement, they specify that Drake was similarly doing the same things during his various rap beefs, which could potentially draw some lawsuits in his direction.
UMG, and Drake hasn't voluntarily dropped it yet, but UMG has now filed a motion to dismiss the whole thing, basically saying, and even citing the lawsuit, saying that Drake is pussy. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't even know the way to sugarcoat it. There's just saying, yo, bro, this nigga don't. What the?
Fam, this just furthers my narrative that I've been telling you guys for a very long time now. AKADEMIKS has really grown to resent Drake. This is a clear example if we've ever had one. And he may have fell away for a very long time, but obviously that OVO check was super fat, so he traded his integrity and credibility for the bag. But with all those years of footage of him basically proclaiming Kendrick Lamar to be the #1 rapper out there and that the field is very distant, and the fact that Not Like Us was his #1 record on his Spotify Wrapped, and I want to say it included another song in the top 3 if I'm not mistaken, with the very first Drake song I think coming in at #5. It just paints my narrative that, yeah, he's really a not-so-secret huge Kendrick Lamar fan. It might be too late to regain his integrity, but maybe he's able to salvage some type of credibility by finally being objective about this. But like I've said before, the narratives he paints doesn't come from somebody that's trying to help somebody, man, because they only make Drake look way lamer.
What the fuck is he doing? Why he ain't suing Kendrick? And I'm not gonna lie, I think there's a point to that, right? It's like, yo, wait, so
Exactly.
you're suing us, but you ain't suing the nigga who said it? What the hell are you talking about? Like, does this make sense? That is going to be a point of contention and something that Drake and his lawyers have to battle with, right? Matter of fact, we could get into it a little bit. Let's see.
He hates Drake now.
Did I have the paperwork here? Drake motion to dismiss.
So Drake, you should have did that stream when you had the chance.
Okay. Right. Okay. So this is the this is a cover page of the whole thing where UMG Recording Inc. in Bexar County, according to the petition, Aubrey Graham, who was a petitioner who was requesting the depositions of iHeartMedia Incorporated and also UMG Recording Incorporated.
Tone really tells a lot, and if you can analyze this guy's tone, it's definitely somebody that's happy that all this stuff is playing out the way it is.
Essentially, UMG Recording has submitted a motion to
AKADEMIKS
dismiss
is giddy
the
about
petition
this,
according to Rule 202, okay? And they're saying it's pursuant to the Texas Citizen Participation Act, and this is what they basically say. UMG files his motion to dismiss Aubrey Graham's petition for a pre-suit deposition. Now, I'll make this very easy to understand for y'all. Remember, this petition, when it was filed in New York and Texas, was a pre-legal, pre-lawsuit action that Drake was doing to get information.
Yeah, he was trying to audit them to see if he can pull any type of evidence. basically saying that they probably had nothing
to be able to sue. Now, granted, he sued, right? And he sued UMG. So this is why we don't see iHeartMedia saying anything, because they're hoping that they just kind of get let off the hook like Spotify. But UMG is already in a fight with Drake in federal court because Drake already sued. So now they're like, well, this other petition, I'm going to put a motion to dismiss. And essentially what they're saying is, Drake wanted a few things, right, in this petition. He wanted to question and depose. So it's like a legal proceeding where you could ask questions in organized settings with. But UMG is already in a fight with Drake in federal court because Drake already sued. So now they're like, well, this other petition, I'm going to put a motion to dismiss. And essentially what they're saying is, Drake wanted a few things, right, in this petition. He wanted to question and depose. So it's like a legal proceeding where you could ask questions in organized settings with a lawyer and some type of arbitrator. And you're sworn under penalty of perjury. So you got to tell the truth. He wanted answers. So, for example, Drake would have had his lawyers question maybe Lucian Grange or maybe the person who is the lead of, urban music for iHeartMedia. And you know what he was going to probably ask. Hey, listen, have y'all ever taken money to inflate the streams or if it was iHeart, to play a record on the radio repetitively, right?
Yeah, obviously that's something that's very illegal. Payola, something that's been illegal since I want to say like the 50s or 60s. But the fact is, it's still a really real thing in the industry. It still goes down. A lot of times it's not even actual liquid cash getting exchanged. It could be anything from like an all expenses paid trip or a plethora of other things, but it's all under payola at the end of the day.
Right. Did Kendrick or a radio team spend money with y'all? They were probably going to ask Lucian Grange and them, hey, did you guys knowingly, like all that type of stuff, right? So, it's a deposition. And again, UMG's just saying, yo, the niggas already suing us in federal court. Why the fuck are we still trying to do pre-lawsuit shit? He has a lawsuit, okay? And they're saying that...
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have like a war on two fronts. So obviously it makes sense they'd want to zone in on one thing and one thing only.
They want this one to be dismissed, okay? Now, the things that they're saying in support of it is this. They said that the petition arises out of an ongoing feud between two prominent rap artists, okay? Drake and Kendrick Lamar, right? UMG distributes a recording of both these artists, and beginning in the spring of 2024, petitioner, Drake, and Kendrick each released recordings containing lyrics which attacked each other.
To me, at the end of the day, that's the biggest factor. The fact that Drake heavily engaged in the beef. It's not like he wasn't throwing out his own narratives. All this case really shows is how much of a sore loser the guy is.
Now, that's very interesting, and that's going to be very operative, not only in them trying to get this dismissed, but also in the federal case subsequently. Why? Because Drake is filing for defamation. Universal's kind of playing, it's a pre-card almost. They're kind of showing you their hand a bit. They're saying, we're going to tell the judge, we didn't defame Drake. If anything, there were two artists that were defaming each other. Mm-hmm. We distribute both of them. We have vested interest in both of them. Yeah. We're the neutral party. If anything, we're promoting free speech. So essentially, UMG is going to say, Drake, you need to sue Kendrick, and vice versa. If Kendrick has a problem with you saying he beat his wife, or you saying that his manager is the father of his kid, y'all should sue each other, not us, okay? So they're basically saying, yeah, we distribute both of their recordings, but they attacked each other with songs that are known in the genre as diss tracks, okay? The rap battle culminated by...
The legal speak is hilarious.
Culminated in a recording by Kendrick Lamar called Not Like Us, released in May 2024, to which Drake has taken offense. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. There is all type of very petty, sly, undertone disses here, and you got to understand.
Yeah, of course. They're making Drake out to seem super soft and all in legalese. They're literally stating the fact that they were both engaged in mudslinging. And honestly, UMG could also expose Drake as having used the same tactics. Like I said earlier, in their statement that they previously released, they basically stated the fact that this guy has used these type of moves in other rap beefs, obviously most notably Meek Mill. And I definitely agree that this is definitely them showing a little bit of their hand. This probably is the same argument they're going to use in their case over in New York, the actual defamation lawsuit, and not the pre-filing that this is.
understand it when it's put in a legal sense. They're basically saying Drake is sensitive. I'm sorry. That's what UMG is saying. They're saying they're engaged in a rap battle, releasing diss songs, but one song that eventually got released got Drake in his feelings. That's what they're saying. Okay. Says
yeah, man, DJ AKADEMIKS is trying to save his credibility, and I'm definitely getting the vibe that AKADEMIKS definitely does not like Drake anymore.
Rather than addressing his grievances with Kendrick Lamar, Drake has resorted to strategic legal retaliation against UMG and others in an apparent effort to pressure them to limit the distribution of Not Like Us. Now, that gives us another insight as well. It's apparent that Universal believes that Drake, and it's kind of interesting, right? They haven't said up front that they believe that Drake is salty, that his value has decreased, or maybe his negotiation leverage and power. They're saying that
goes without being said.
They feel Drake want them to take the song off or to limit its distribution, which is.
But then that would kind of make the argument for Kendrick Lamar that Drake is doing the very same thing. He's trying to hinder the success of his record. And like I've been saying, Drake's been on a rampage to expose everybody when he may be the one exposing himself at the very end. And with defamation lawsuits, at least in California, I'm not so sure about New York, but in Cali, there's definitely some very tough anti-slap lawsuits to stop these lawsuits that are filed with no merit.
Essentially is going to be very problematic for Drake. Let me kind of lay this out for you, right? We've seen previously Pusha T accuse Drake of being able to stop a record or stop someone from being on a record.
That was basically him at the height of his power, being able to go to the higher up and force their hand. And honestly, like I've said before, a lot of that stuff can build up resentment with the executives over at the label. And these record labels have gone toe-to-toe with people even more successful than Drake. So this could potentially go very wrong for Drake and potentially be the final nail in the coffin of what is Drake's career and image.
Now, when UMG,
pretty much
the big dog, is saying, oh, Drake is suing us in a action to try to pressure us to limit the distribution of the song, if this goes to court, those things are probably going to get mentioned to say, hey, Drake usually plays ball like this, where he in the past had.
To think that UMG doesn't have over a decade of evidence that could point the finger over at Drake for doing the same things is obviously something that's almost guaranteed. And they're almost doing him a favor by asking for this case to be dismissed, because if that's true, it's obviously something that's going to get him in a lot of hot water as well.
Has been able to pressure or use his power and leverage to force people not to put out a record or put somebody on it. And in this case, because he couldn't do said thing in terms of having the entities that be stop the record or don't promote it or whatever the case is, now he's suing. So again, by the way, I'm regurgitating
Hypocrisy.
and I'm just breaking down what's being written by the lawyers of UMG. This is not what I think. This is all about my interpretation of what's being said.
But the tone does add a little spiciness to it. For me, it definitely feels like Ak is trying to move on from his love affair with Drake.
So it appears that UMG's stance is that, oh, Drake wanted us to stop the record, and we didn't stop the record. Now, that's going to get tricky on both sides. Number one, if we get further into the woods with this, we're probably going to see some proof that maybe Drake has stopped records in the past, which, by the way, Pusha T and other people have said it happened.
Tons of these allegations. He's pretty much put careers on hold because all he has to do is basically say, hey, I'm never doing features with any of your artists. And with how hot he was, obviously that's something that labels didn't want to risk happening, so they would just relent. But like I said, that definitely builds resentment. And now that there's blood in the water, who knows if these other labels don't come out to confirm all of this.
We're probably going to get proof that UMG has allowed artists to stop records at times. And it's this lawsuit
is pretty common in the
UMG,
industry.
It's such a messy bitch fight. And what I mean by bitch fight, it's like a
and I'm going to take a shot in the dark, but I expect a DJ AKADEMIKS Drake crash out very, very soon. I almost expect a stream of him going off on him, actually.
It's like a catty girl fight, right? Not bitch like in terms of, it's a girl fight. Because
For me, the way he's describing it is honestly a little off because this year alone, I want to say the fights of the year in both MMA and boxing have been female fights. And honestly, they've been very, very brutal and more entertaining, honestly, than a lot of the male fighters.
Anything that Drake exposes of UMG exposes himself, right?
Yeah.
Because if
I've
they
been
expose
saying
UMG like, yo, you're paid for bots for Kendrick, UMG's going to be like, but in the past, we've paid for bots for you.
And they can pull up invoices, they can pull all sorts of records up. And I've been saying that since the beginning. It's honestly pretty obvious. If Drake was the #1 guy over at Universal, to think that he wasn't benefiting from all this and even more, you'd almost be able to guarantee it.
Yo, and also likewise with UMG. UMG's going to come back and say, well, Drake's just mad that this can't happen. And Drake's going to come back and say, but I have the proof that that used to happen. So again, it's like, this is kind of the Spider-Man meme, right? Anything Drake could say about Universal probably helps expose him and his illustrious career there. And anything that UMG could try to like sidestep about Drake will probably not only expose Drake, but expose how they deal with top tier artists. So nobody wins except the fans, because we get to sit here and we get to be in a business, okay? Unless, and by the way, for all the people, no matter if you're a Drake fan or a Kendrick fan, this is why I love the music industry. I want to be up in everybody's business, okay?
I mean, you've proven that time and time again, Ak.
So it'll be in our benefit because we're going to start seeing some tea. We're going to start seeing it. I hate that word, but we're going to start seeing some real info about what.
But the thing is, a lot of this stuff has basically been the worst kept secret. Bots have been a thing since honestly the dawn of streaming. And before that, like I've said multiple times, they used to allocate part of the label to buy physical units, to buy CDs first week to pump up first week numbers, for the same reason why we pump up engagement on a song's initial release. First week success is honestly probably the best advertising for a very strong second week. And this is almost like steroids in baseball. It's definitely going to do a lot of damage to the perception of Drake's career if we find out that much of his success was due to the fact that he had that big machine behind him. And I'll say it one more time. Thou shalt not throw stones if thou live in glass houses. But obviously Drake didn't get that memo. And while we can only allege, I'm pretty sure Universal has facts behind their claims. And this isn't UMG's first rodeo with something like this. Drake may just end up being another one in the footnote of people that tried taking down the system, even though most of the other people were doing it from a much more genuine approach.
What's going on in this bitch? You get what I'm saying? And after we get
It's a
this
shady
information,
business.
we could safely then assume if Universal treats Drake like A, right? If they were stopping records or if they did,
I say the same thing about Taylor Swift and everybody else.
Done that for every other artist that has been
at least A-level,
close to his caliber, which means not only maybe they've done it for Not Like Us and Kendrick, they probably have done it for 50 when he was the guy. Which, by the way, 50 admitted that he had power to move around and affect people's release dates or even maybe their status in a label.
Of course, he basically said he can get your album shelved. A lot of people have had the same power. You could probably think of somebody like a Jay-Z, and I wouldn't just limit it to rap. Like I said, somebody like a Taylor Swift, some of these big pop acts, obviously they've been accused of throwing their weight around at the labels. And honestly, there's quite a few that have actually been accused of trying to tone down the success of the newer pop acts.
So that's the thing.
It's going to get dicey.
But it's going to kind of be maybe the first time legally that we get the definitive answers about what could a label do or what do they do or what have they done, right? That's going to be very interesting, okay? Okay. Hold on. It says, all right, the TCPA protects parties from this exact type of legal retaliation by providing an expedited process to summarily dismiss legal actions, including petitions for pre-suit deposition. So UMG is moving aggressively. They want this to be dismissed. Now, let me give you also some more context on what is happening. Say yeah? Okay. Let me give you a little bit more information on what supposedly is happening on the legal front in the federal lawsuit. So essentially, Universal's prepared. By the way, this was 114 page or 144 pages they filed in county court, Bexar County Court in Texas for that petition. They're gonna do an answer to Drake in federal court, which is an actual lawsuit. And they requested what's called like, yo, hey, listen, we need an extension on the deadline to file our response.
I'm pretty sure they're probably trying to see how this goes. But I can totally see them using this same argument towards that case as well.
Drake's team, rather than waiting for the judge to either rule if they're going to give the extension or not, Drake's team said, we're cool, we'll agree to that, which, by the way, if you're trying to get this case going along, a lot of times both parties will agree to certain things to make, it limits the amount of time the judge has to make an order, right? Because sometimes you'll just be left around waiting. And also, you want to, no matter how adversarial the suing process is, you got to play ball somewhat to keep the ball going. So Drake has agreed to,
if not, this could take years.
Extension in the deadline for UMG to file their response, and also subsequently agree in a deadline, an extension of the deadline for them to do the same thing that they did here, but do it in a federal case, which is a motion to dismiss. So again, I think Universal is good. They're preparing to try to, hit Drake over the head with shit.
Oh,
they definitely want to clobber him. But for me, I don't want to see this dismissed. At this point, I want all the tea, and I want all the drama, and I want all the beans spilled.
Yeah, man, AKADEMIKS definitely wants Drake cooked, and he just might get his wish. I've been telling y'all that AKADEMIKS has been growing resentful of Drake over the past few weeks. His chat is constantly telling him that Drake really doesn't rock with him, and he was delusional about it before, and he'd always say that, yeah, now Drake really does fuck with him, but it seems like he's starting to see the light. It's probably too late for him to get back his integrity, because he's definitely done a lot of questionable stuff, but maybe he's trying to get some of that credibility back by calling this objectively. But his tone has definitely been condescending, and he's been referring to this situation and Drake's behavior as a bitch.
I want to know exactly how much money Drake got. I want to know what the negotiations have been like. And by the way, I don't know if we get into that, those particular crash out on details will
very soon
be filed under seal, but we're kind of heading there, right? We're kind of heading there where at a point Drake is going to have to make this crystal clear. How was his value diminished? Remember, we talked about defamation yesterday. How was your value diminished? How was it? How were these defamatory statements?
It might be hard to prove that when UMG can basically say that you were the most streamed rapper of last year. Even with your reputation taking a hit, you were still the #1 guy streaming. So it's going to be hard to claim that you dropped off when the numbers still show otherwise.
Affecting you and affecting your business, your net worth, your earning potential, and all these things. And Drake is going to have to say, well, listen, they offered me this. They sent over a deal memo that said I could have gotten paid $500 million, which is $500 million, and I wanted 600. But after the battle, when I countered and I said I'll take 550, they said, actually, we're not giving you 500 no more. We're giving you 300. And that would be legit proof, right? Now,
that was his business, man. It's not like his stock hasn't dropped. And Drake can continue to point the finger at Kendrick Lamar, but to say that he hasn't had a major hand at putting his career where it's at now would be supremely erroneous.
I keep telling you when it comes to this lawsuit, I don't like this particular lawsuit by Drake because once you bring in music, if it was tweets, I think this would be a good case for Drake. But once you bring in music, that then introduces a whole other realm of, well, how much of art could be just used as expression? Could it be used as satire? Could it be used as parody? Versus, are these statements?
He's giving the defense even more possible narrative to try to use as a defense. So I definitely think that Drake has lost his once biggest cheerleader.
Means that if you say, you have to literally stand on, and especially during the genre of rap music, and then hence a rap battle. And diss
Drake
songs.
Engaged in
because
the beat.
here's the thing, and I know some people
told him
here
to drop and everything.
Y'all gotta know Drake's my favorite artist. Here's where I feel if Drake is
that's not what your Spotify said. Come on, AKADEMIKS.
Successful here. If I'm a rapper, matter of fact, no, I'll tell you this as a fact. If Drake is successful here, I'm suing everybody who's ever dissed me in a record. You said AKADEMIKS is pussy, you're getting a lawsuit. I'm promise you. I'm telling you, I'm filing hella lawsuits.
Yeah, man, obviously the floodgates would open if this wins. But if that's the case, man, I think Meek Mill is going to have a huge case. And maybe he sues Drake for a bag that even Drake could never imagine. Because Meek Mill could definitely argue that what Drake did to him had an even further impact on his career. Because at least Drake is streaming heavy. At least the dude is still doing tours. Meek's career never really recovered after that.
Nobody better ever diss me in a goddamn song. Because really, we all look at music and we kind of look at it par for the course. Okay, all right, just like, all right, Lil Baby diss me or Meek diss me or, well, who is diss me?
Part of the game.
Whoever.
But it's not like DJ AKADEMIKS doesn't crash out routinely on all these guys and says the craziest stuff. AKADEMIKS has said some of the most despicable and vulgar things towards some women and also spun some very damaging narratives of his own. So he may be saying that he's going to sue a bunch of people, but I'm pretty sure a bunch of other people could say the same about him.
And forget about me. But there's actual, like, if I'm, with all due respect, if I'm Meek Mill, I'm filing a lawsuit against Drake. Yo,
Exactly.
You got to catch this lawsuit, bro. Like, you killed my career. You
Yeah.
killed it. Nah, I was selling 250,000. You start clowning me. Is it a world tour, your girl tour? Trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers.
And Drake using tweets and memes as evidence from like random fan accounts is a lot different than Drake actually going on tour and putting those memes up on the Jumbotron in the screen.
What? I'm sorry. So that's the only thing. And as much as you like Drake, and I know, all these fan bases are so politically charged because they can't
Drake.
see the other side. We all got to admit this fact. If Drake wins this lawsuit, trust me, anytime a nigga name gets mentioned, I ain't gonna lie to you. Well, I think is Tuka Mom suing Dirk? Well, those are a little bit different because somebody died, and it's probably, those people were probably directly involved.
Like I said in the intro, Drake is obviously opening himself up to be exposed by Universal by him trying to expose them. Because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure it's going to be very easy for UMG to go and show invoices and all sorts of correspondence, basically affirming that Drake was doing the very same things that he's accusing these other people of doing. And the only reason that he's suing is because he doesn't have that same leverage, which is obvious. Obviously, your stocks took a hit, so it being the music business, I definitely expect the label to go and lowball you because that's just business. And the fact that he's been moving like this and probably throwing his weight around the label has probably built up some resentment that now they're not going to give you that contract that maybe you could have got before just because of what you guys have accomplished together. And if Drake does win, yeah, I definitely agree with Act. The floodgates will open. But the very same bag that Drake would get, I'm pretty sure that and more will go and get claimed by Meek Mill because, yeah, his career was effectively destroyed. Guy's still around. He's still dropping music here and there, but he has really no motion. I feel like the only time he really ever comes up is when somebody's making fun of him or he's doing something embarrassing. And that's a complete 180 because, yeah, before the beef, he was definitely doing numbers. A lot of it was definitely tied to the fact that, yeah, he was dating Nicki Minaj. He got exposed to an even bigger fan base, and he definitely benefited from it. But he can definitely argue that Drake effectively destroyed his career and did way more damage than any of this Kendrick Lamar stuff did to his career. Because it's easy to see that he's still the #1 most streamed rapper. How much was your money really affected? So either way, this is definitely going to have some major ramifications for everybody involved. And like I keep saying, man, I really think that AKADEMIKS really does not like Drake. And it's no wonder that the guy has built up tons of resentment. I mean, Drake treats him like the side chick that he hits up on a cold Tuesday night at like 2 a.m. and doesn't want to be seen next to. But Drake is petty, so it's not like he hasn't seen the same clips we have of AKADEMIKS saying that Kendrick is his favorite rapper and not Drake like he's claiming now. It's going to be very interesting to see how this develops, but this could potentially be the last nail in the coffin of Drake's career. But definitely let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Drake could potentially do more damage to himself? I honestly think so. This is not UMG's first rodeo with like something like this, and Drake once again has picked an enemy that is way more powerful than him, and the stuff he's accusing can definitely be tied to him as well. Definitely let me know what you guys think. And also let me know if you guys think that DJ AKADEMIKS' love affair over Drake is over, or will we see him crawling back and trying to beg for forgiveness? But he definitely sounds like he's over it. He was effectively calling Drake a bitch multiple times throughout this video. So that's definitely a very big change in tone. Definitely let me know what you guys think. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button, guys. It does your channel wonders. Guys, I want to thank you guys so much for making this channel a part of your day. It honestly means so much, and it wouldn't be growing the way it is without you guys. I really want to thank you guys so much for all the love and support you guys show on a daily. It honestly is the biggest reason I make these videos, so I really want to let you guys know how grateful I am. I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say on this situation because this is going to get really crazy. So I hope you guys love this video, and I hope to see you guys soon. Yeah, man, I give it like 3 weeks before we see like an AKADEMIKS stream where he's crashing out on Drake. You can tell me he's your favorite rapper, but I just don't believe it anymore.